Well, hi there, everybody. Welcome back to the Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
It's the free-for-all, one of two segments. Melissa Longo is here, of course. Carrie Schwent is also here. That is a fun background. Looks like oil and water or something like that.
Yeah, the bubbles.
Jason Oken is here as well, wearing a really cool shirt with a bunch of ships on it. Eve England is, guess what, out in Wales. Faith Howell's floating outside of Deep Space Nine. Mai is live in Tokyo wearing, who are you wearing? Sirach Lofton and everybody, Aaron and Ryan. Goldie Scott Jensen is here being evil. And Aaron Eisenberg is going to be joining us via a previous recording, our previous review of A Man Alone. So we'll bring up that clip right now. Let's see what he has to say. One moment. There we go. Let's give this a try.
And because Jake is such a wonderful human being who teaches Nog how to read, that trajectory of Nog moves into a much bigger paradigm, and the rock that's thrown into the water and the ripples that happen because of that one action have major consequences 4, 5, 6 years, 6 years later.
So why'd you pick that clip, Melissa? Great one.
Well, it's interesting because we were kind of talking about this earlier in the deep dive review about Keiko was really the one who set those things in motion, but it was Jake who ultimately furthers those ripples in the pond, those actions that Keiko initiated from her not wanting to be on Deep Space Nine. So it's I thought it was interesting to look at where Jake and Nog kind of started and how they progressed the story so beautifully through the 7 years, and the ripples in the pond are indicative of the 7 years of Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, good point. And Sirach taught Aaron how to read too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
And you know what? Yeah, that was the other thing is the joy that they had when they were pulling that prank. I think we all have had moments like that with our friends, not necessarily with grainy and bowl lights, but
but some with that, yeah.
But when you pull a prank and you just are just laughing and you're just feeling the joy of that moment, sharing a special moment with your friend, that kind of brought back good memories of, okay, this is, these are guys that have nothing to do and they're hanging out, just making good, clean fun, at least at this point, but still just getting into kids' fun stuff,
Trying to find a picture, Sirach. When you mentioned hanging out with your friends and laughing, it reminded me of a picture, and I can't find it now, but there's a really good one of you and Aaron laughing on the stage at Star Trek Las Vegas.
Yeah.
You know that one, Melissa?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
clearly one of you said some kind of snide remark to the other person, and you guys are sharing a good laugh about it. I can't find it though.
You two were the only ones in on the joke.
Yeah. On stage. Nobody else is loud. Nobody else knows what's going on.
Yeah. It was great.
It was one of those moments where somebody says something and you hear it in a different way. So we were on that panel and somebody, I think it was Mark Zachary, was talking, and
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And he said something I don't know. I don't remember the exact thing he said, but it was something that you can hear and interpret in a different way. So I think he's, like, oh yeah, I like to receive things on both ends, or something that we both looked at each other, and he's like, "Did you hear that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I heard that," and we could not hold it back. So it was one of those kind of moments, and that is that's the moment, 2 people laughing, giggling, having fun, and sharing a special moment. That's what I felt when I watched Jake and Nog.
Do you actually remember that moment on the set in
I don't. The one where we were.
1993?
No, I don't. And I was wondering about the mesh that we were looking through as we were peering at the 2 people in the commissary as they were eating. I was like, where is that mesh exactly? Where would it be placed? Because I don't remember anywhere on the in the little eating cubby hole where there would be a panel to stare through that had the mesh fabric. That was something that I think they constructed just for that shot, because I couldn't figure out where that was. And no, I don't remember it. I remember that Jom stick though, and chasing him down from the promenade, holding that thing. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I was wondering about that too, where that was, that weird kind of grate thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, there was no mention of the Jumja stick on ARON EISENBERG's part. Sadly, I would like to hear what he had to say about that. But
glop on their stick is what it said in the script.
Glop on a stick. Wait a minute, we did see that.
He always said glop on the stick.
There it is. Okay, yeah, we can do that then. One moment, please. And everybody, you can go check out this review. It is T7R episode 19, A Man Alone. And you can hear Aaron's takes on this. Oh, wait, let me go back a tiny bit more because it looks like there's some good stuff going on there. All right, here we go. So check this out. Here's Mr. ARON EISENBERG telling us a bit more. Like how that happened, because I couldn't quite remember. I remember it had the rat sickle, but
glop on a stick.
The what stick?
Glop on a stick. And that was the scene that I auditioned with, meeting Jake. But if you listen to it, there's an audio issue at the my first 2 lines, so that part of the scene, and then the second half of the scene. And I'm pretty sure they used the ADR looping when I went back in after we shot it to redo the audio.
I did notice a difference in sound, but I couldn't tell what I was hearing. So yeah, glop on a stick. And Sirach, you were talking about the audio issues.
Yeah.
We were both kind of harping on that a little bit. You guys, did any of you notice any audio issues in this episode?
No.
Scott.
I should have. I should have.
Why are you calling Scott out, Melissa?
She's right. She's 100%. It's like, damn, I didn't catch that. I must have been like playing something on my phone too at the same time. It had to be.
He was like, "Oops."
Did someone say audio?
Oh yeah, I totally heard it.
Yeah, there was a few. There was a lot of ADR work done in this episode. And when you do ADR work, the sounds they're just not going to match up right. Even the ambient noise in the room sounds, which, by the way, when we do a take, usually at the end of us filming, sound will record for about 10, 20 seconds at the end of us filming. So we're,
room tone.
Room tone. And they use that room tone for exactly these purposes of ADR, because they'll take the room tone and then add that into the post-production voiceover work and blend the two so that they try to make it sound like you were just talking in that room at that time. But there's always a difference. And in this particular episode, I thought the ADR work was noticeable, and if it's noticeable, then that's not good. So
when you did the ADR, were you in a small booth when you guys did that? Did you go in and record with a mic in a little booth?
Yeah, it's actually a huge booth.
Okay.
The booth is like it's a room. It's a huge room with a microphone, a standing microphone. It's not like how you see a recording artist in a small little booth, with a podium in front of them with their.
I didn't realize it was so big. How big was this? Because all the ones I've seen, like what Scott's saying, they're usually fairly small, super padded, of course, but I didn't realize that.
No, this one was big. It was. They would have a theater size screen playing back the episode, so you're looking at it like on jumbo. It's not like yes. It's not a TV screen that you're looking at. You're looking at like a whole big movie theaters type screen.
In some cases on Cosmos. For the
for the Loop group,
right.
That large room will also help with matching the acoustics of being on a set like you guys were on. I can't imagine the mic and that with everything bouncing everywhere with all those corridors and counters and all. No wide open side on one side. I couldn't imagine how much stuff bounced around in there. So I think the big ADR rooms probably helped a lot with that. I wonder if some of the other shows that were in smaller sets had a smaller ADR room to kind of match that up.
Yeah, I remember. As a matter of fact, the room was so big.
How big was it?
At some point, so there were different sound stages that you could use inside the same facility, and one of those rooms would have like an entire orchestra in it, like all the instruments and everybody's chairs sitting down. It was big enough to put an orchestra in there. And we were just filming, doing our one voiceover work. But if you wanted to, there could be 50 people in there conducting music.
Like music recording.
Yeah.
Wow. So up next, here's another thought from our good friend, Mr. ARON EISENBERG. And it goes a little something like this.
Well, take that one step further with Bashir and Cisco at Quarks, and Cisco saying, well, if you want to go date her, hey, I'm cool with that. And I'm thinking to myself, really? It's like, isn't there a problem here?
Isn't there protocol?
Yeah. Isn't there some kind of future protocol about dating each other that are working together? But apparently not in Starfleet. Hey,
backwards.
Make it happen. Basically, hey, if you need the runabout, I'm sure there's some nice places on Bajor that you can take her out to. Hey, I'll reserve it for you, on Saturday.
Well, Melissa, why did you choose that snippet?
Because Aaron was so funny. Really? The way he said really? Him questioning Cisco being okay with Bashir asking Dax out, which I kind of have a counter to his point, in that most of these Starfleet people are on ships with only other Starfleet people, so who else are they going to date? It's not like they're on Earth dating, having a bigger pool to date within, and maybe he's not into Bajorans, Well, we find out that he is later, but but there's they're the same rank, and it's not like they work together every single day. She's in science and he's in medical, and they've got different jobs that they're doing, so they're not directly working with each other. So
that's a good point, Melissa. Like who else are you supposed to date? We're stuck here in the middle of space on this station.
Exactly.
Well, for most Starfleet officers, yes. But like Deep Space Nine officers, it's 90% other Bajorans and whatever else, and some starships like the Enterprise, would have like 1,000 people on it, and maybe 100 are Starfleet. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that Starfleet officers should be able to date other Starfleet officers where they were? Faith is going to break. She is nodding so hard. She's like, absolutely. Starting with Riker.
I'm a big shipper. All the ships.
Yeah.
We need Homer here going, no.
I know Anne Marie would be on my side though, so
Probably right.
All right.
Yeah, I'm on your side for this.
Donna's saying yes.
In the chat, nice.
Because we've
Doesn't it
seen
come
so
up-
many good relationships come out of it. I mean, as long as it's two consenting adults
Right.
engaged in their own, responsible behavior, I don't have a problem with it.
Right.
Well, Eve thinks that they should not be engaging in all this tallyhoos, or I don't know what they call them over there. But what do you think, Eve? Do you think a captain should be able to be like, hey, none of that?
I mean, I get why you'd need people to be able to do that, but I suppose in the same way in work office environments, you might just need to disclose it because there could be an HR problem. So I think as long as they know about it, that's probably not a problem. Yeah.
Does
Also,
Starfleet
how it
have
impacts.
HR? Sorry, what were you saying,
I don't
Mike?
see-
I was going to say, doesn't it impact
Yeah.
things in a military situation? Wouldn't you want to date outside of your unit so that when the when it hits the fan, that you can actually react without having emotions involved?
I disagree with that because I love all the people. Not in that way, but I love all the people. I care deeply about all the people. So why is it any different? If we're in a battle situation, I'm going to be worried about everybody. It doesn't matter whether I'm sleeping with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sleep with everybody, and then you have equal.
Yeah, let's do that too.
Right. And then if we have a problem with Bashir and Dax dating, then we should have a problem with Riker and Troy getting married, and Jadzia and Worf
Hey,
getting married, and all of these couples that are in Starfleet and are together, like B'Elanna and Paris.
Damn, you're right. It's rampant in Star Trek, isn't it? What do you think, Jason?
Yeah.
Well, it goes back. I mean, we're talking obviously, the Roddenberry universe and Star Trek. It goes back, I think, to the original series. I mean, if you look at the Balance of Terror, you have, basically a wedding ceremony right at the beginning of the show. So it goes back to those kinds of roots. I mean, it ends tragically, which is kind of shows what can happen. But and then the other side of it, I think, is sort of this Roddenberry, perfected human being that can interact in this kind of environment and be basically an adult or mature about it. So I think if you're looking at that universe specifically based on its sort of parameters, there shouldn't be an issue. They should be able to deal with that.
And then I would also add that even when it's somebody who's outside of Starfleet, for example, in the case of Book and
Michael,
they're a couple, but oftentimes Michael's decision making will be affected based on the fact that it's Book who's involved in the situation or scenario. So even if it's a non-Starfleet person, you're still going to make certain decisions that are going to be different than you normally would make.
Yeah.
So I don't see, the Starfleet aspect of it is not going to change whether you're going to drop what you're doing for your significant other in the moment when they need you.
Yeah, the judgment's kind of compromised regardless. Yeah. But I was
Mhm.
thinking there are two differing sides of that. One is then you have other relationships like father-son, right? Cisco, his son is not in Starfleet, and that does possibly compromise his decision making because he's going to put Jake above everything always, theoretically, or it's at least going to make these decisions harder. But on the other side of that is doctors are not allowed to operate on, family or loved ones because they don't want to be emotionally compromised. So I don't know. I kind of see both sides of that. But on Star Trek, I prefer to see them all, humping each other and stuff like that anyway. So I think, hey, it's good. It's good storytelling, like it creates all the drama and, it's good.
Yeah.
Receiving on both ends.
And with that, everybody, we're going to hit our next segment in just a moment. And this next segment will be covering everything that we had never noticed before, something new that we hadn't seen or hadn't noticed or figured out in the past, because especially after watching it a bunch of times, you go back and you start kind of looking for things that you hadn't picked up on previously. And there are always tons of things to pick up on which to pick up. So sorry, Mai. We'll be right back, everybody, on the 7th Rule.